Molotov cocktails become a thing. And we're back, Mike Cernovich, Cernovich.com. What what the hell? Where did this come from? Right? I'm pretty, how do you say, concerned is the word. Concerned is the word. Jack Posobiec's here. Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny that they debunked a story he had about explosives being left in a DC park, a story he broke 2 days before. There was an indictment out of Vegas where a group of Bougaloo boys, whatever they're called, were arrested for that same crime. So literally, Posobiec wrote about a phenomenon that hadn't been reported yet. And now we're seeing, there's just another story came out. Someone has found the packages. So we'll just talk about a couple things. So one, how is it that Posobiec reported on something that nobody had talked about, and then it comes out 2 days later in a federal indictment that it's being done, but then he made it up? How do you make up something that's actually happening than we was talking about? But anyway, there was a Bougaloo thing, which was something that I was a little dismissive of, but I always go with the evidence. There was charges in Las Vegas where these people, so it's like a real thing now. So you have a left-wing lawyer, you have a left-wing lawyer throwing No, the Boogaloo thing's real. I read the indictment, so don't argue with me. Okay, there's something, I don't know. Is this foreign? Where is this coming from? Right? When in the Molotov cocktails, right? So you now have Antifa on the left, a left-wing lawyer, famously indicted for throwing a Molotov cocktail. Now you have people arrested in Vegas where they're making Molotov cocktails. I don't know. This feels like an idea that was seeded by someone. And I don't know who. I don't know if it was a foreign government. I don't know that if it's something going around that the feds are getting that idea here, but it's happening. It's absolutely happening. And so that's why I'm talking about and flagging it, because this is a brand new thing, a brand new phenomena that we have to keep in mind and we have to monitor. So it's, yeah. What's up, Wayne? Good to see you, my friend. Because it came from out of nowhere, right? How many of you have ever? I've heard of a Molotov cocktail, only because I was a Guns N' Roses fan growing up. There's like a line in a song where I got my Molotov cocktail with the match to go. I smoke my cigarette with style, right? So I remember I heard that song, and I was like, "What's a Molotov cocktail?" Right? And then I haven't thought of Molotov cocktails since listening to Guns N' Roses when I was, I don't know, 14 or 15 or something like that. And it just feels off to me. Something, yeah, Night Train, exactly. I'm on the night train. There, so there's just something about this that feels very off. It feels very inauthentic. It feels like the kind of idea that was seeded by maybe like a foreign terrorist group to cause chaos, because that's what people are doing now. So here's what happened in the case out of Vegas. The case out of Vegas was people who, I call them the tactical crowd. I've gotten, quote unquote, in trouble with my crowd before, but I've always said that I don't like people who dress up like they're special operations veterans if they come to my stuff, right? I have people, if you go to a Mike Cernovich event, you have real special operations soldiers, veterans in attendance, right? So I'm not really into this people dressing up like they're from Ranger Battalion, right? We have bat boys show up to my stuff and they don't dress like that, right? So my friends who are in that Ranger Battalion don't dress like that. So whenever I see people, especially they're usually out of shape, something real weird going on. It just feels off to me. And so these people, they went to, and this is why the story's not getting that much coverage. They initially went to an open up Vegas rally, protest, call it what you will. And they were going to plant explosives around, hoping that a bad actor would find the explosives and would to be like, oh, wow, what a gift. We're going to do something with it. So, but they ended up not doing it at the Open Up Vegas rally. But then they went back to do it at one of these Black Lives Matter protest rallies. And then, yeah, I thought the Bougaloo thing was made up, but apparently it's some kind of foreign seeded meme or something. And here's what I mean by or something. If you, who remembers there was all these arrests years ago for Islamic terrorism, and then you would read the indictment, and it would be actually just some like lonely Muslim kid was on the internet, and then federal agents would be like, yeah, you need to take action, you need to do something. So the FBI would create crimes to solve them. That way they could say, look, we're solving Islamic terrorism. Is all over. It's like, no, you blew 9/11, you blew Pulse nightclub. You're not able to solve real crimes. You're not able to stop real crimes. So what they do is they would create crimes. They would find marginalized men, lonely Muslim kids, and then they'd be like, oh yeah, just show up here. We got all the stuff and you can do your thing, right? Well, now I think the feds are doing the same thing. They're finding just marginalized kind of loser white kids and saying, oh, we'll teach you how to do this stuff. And then that way the FBI can make arrests, because then they can say, look at all the crimes we're solving. And then we'll just pretend like Vegas didn't happen, Pulse nightclub didn't happen, like they haven't just blown it on every other really big crime. So now I just read another story that Jack Posobiec had posted where someone else was just arrested, and he was planning on putting a bunch of Molotov cocktails too. And then Jack had reported that pipe bombs were found, and then that was apparently debunked, but he reported it before this thing was public, right? So if he got the story quote unquote wrong, it wasn't pipe bombs, it was probably Molotov cocktails, but the park police didn't know what they were looking at, right? So he reported it as pipe bombs, and because that's probably what the sources would have said, because nobody knew about Molotov cocktails, which apparently are back in vogue with the far left-wing protester caught on camera throwing one into a police car. And now we have these Bougaloo freaks planning them too, trying to do it to both open up routes. So the agent of chaos, so this is why I'm calling it foreign or domestic, because like I said, the FBI has a history of this stuff. Agents of chaos are generally foreign, or they're by anti-American deep state elements within the government, where they just want to watch the world burn. Because if you're actually an ideologue, you don't want the world to burn. If you're an ideologue, you want your side to take power. Unfortunately, that the video of somebody having gasoline poured on him, that was from Central America, and I really wish that hadn't been posted without that context, because now that's spreading fires, so to speak. Bad pun. Sorry for the officer. I hope he's safe. But that wasn't in America, so I really don't like it when people that I'm ideologically aligned with post that kind of stuff without context, for two reasons. One is because it's not true. Two is it just makes us all look bad and discredits us, because it's like, oh God, another thing, another thing that they're doing that isn't true. So I don't like either of it. Christ, I don't like either. Just tell the truth. We don't have to make stuff up. That's what's frustrating for me is, like, we don't have to make stuff up. The truth is on our side. Don't mislead people. Don't lie to people. Don't post things out of context. We don't have to. When the truth is on your side, you don't need to slant things and shade things. Like today, for example, everybody is pretending like you don't know what smiling down on us means, right? If I defined the zeitgeist of our day, I'm smoking an Avo, 30th anniversary. If I had to define the zeitgeist of our day, it would be the age of pretend, the age of make-believe. Trump says, George Floyd, see these protests for equality and justice, and he's smiling down on us. He's smiling down on us. He's dead. Dead people don't smile. It's an expression, and we all know it is, but we have to pretend it's not. We have to pretend that it's not a well-known colloquialism that when you die, your family's looking over at you. Your family's smiling down on you. They're smiling down upon the change that's happening. that your life had meaning and purpose and significance beyond the ephemeral, right? Beyond just living right here, but you have to pretend, right? Oh, I can't believe he said. So they did two things. First, they lied. The media lied, and they said Trump claimed that George Floyd was smiling because of the jobs numbers. And then the full video came out, and they went from lying about George Floyd smiling about the job numbers to how can anyone be smiling when they're dead? How dare Trump not honor the memory? Because you can't find hundreds of thousands of literary references and allusions to a deceased person smiling down on us because they have an immortal soul and they're in heaven, right? So Trump was saying metaphorically that George Floyd is in heaven, and he sees these protests happening in his name, and he is smiling that his death, because he's with God. Remember, and when you're with God, you're at peace, right? You're at peace with God. So Trump is saying George Floyd died, went to heaven. He sees protests, and he's with God, happy that the people are demanding change because of his death. That's what he said. The fact that I have to explain that shows why we live in the era of pretend, the age of pretend, the age of make-believe. Trump said George Floyd is in heaven, smiling on us. Now, if you don't believe in God, that's fine, but it's still a metaphor. It's just a well-known metaphor. And now we have to pretend like we don't know. We've never heard that before, and the orange man is bad again. That's all we're doing. The age of pretend. The age of pretend. But the Molotov cocktail thing, again, just it feels off to me. It feels like a foreign thing, or it feels like something being done by the government, by agents within the government who want to sow chaos. Where authoritarian power grab is what's happening. An authoritarian power grab is what's happening. And they just want everybody afraid of everyone else. And that's where we are. Great. I'm glad you guys like my hair. You know who cut my hair? True story. Who cut Mike Cernovich's hair? I'll give you one guess. Mike Cernovich. Mike Cernovich cut Mike Cernovich's hair. And I posted that man bun earlier, but I really am growing out a top knot. So if you look, you can see that the top part here. So if you look at how long it's getting now too, so I am growing a top knot. I'm gonna unironically grow out a top knot. So you can see I almost have enough there. I need a couple more inches so you can kind of see it. That's way in the back. So I'm gonna unironically grow a top knot. But because I'm creative and versatile, because I'm me, because everything I do, I figure out. I just figure things out. I can still rock the chunky on the top side look too. So I have two different hairstyles. I'm gonna have a top knot soon, and then I'm gonna grow the top, and then I'm gonna have the top knot and rock that. And then when I don't want to rock the top knot, I just have this great, luscious, thick, chunky hair on top. See? Pretty great, because you can see, and then I can even curl it. There's just so much I can do with it. So much I can do with this. So I'll rock the top knot some days. The other days I'll rock the chunkier look. Other days I'll maybe have it just like this. Many looks. The many faces of Mike Cernovich. See? So yeah, you can see I got the full. If I want to do a comb, if I want to look like I have a toupee, I can do it this way. So yeah, we're growing this shit out, man. This is the era we're entering. I got this idea from the last kingdom. So Uhtred. I'm growing out the Uhtred hairstyle. So I don't trust myself to fully shave the sides because the margin of error. So I shave this in a 2. So the margin of error is a little bit higher. So I'm going to do is when I have the top knot, I'm going to do the full Utrecht, and I'm going to shave the sides all the way too. So then that'll just be clean right there. And then I'll have the samurai top knot going on too, rocking the Utrecht. You come for reporting, and you talk about hair and cigars. That's just, the Mike Cernovich way. So yeah, well, the top knot will be going. Growing it out, and it's I think it's a good look. Warrior hair, yeah, we're entering the era of the Bronze Age. I don't believe in coloring my hair, especially because women like the grayer hair too. So they're I'm creating the hybrid iconography of an elder warrior, right? So I'm not going for the hot fuckboy Mike Cernovich. I'm going for the elder warrior because we're not in the age of the elder statesman any longer. So I don't want to go for the Mitt Romney colored black hair look. I don't want to go for the undercut fuckboy look. I'm going for the elder warrior look. The person who looks a little bit fierce, but also a little bit older too. So it's like an older, respectable warrior king vibe is what we're creating here with this look. The warrior king, the elder warrior king, the wise but strong. Because as a man, that's where you should be when you're 35 to 50, right? Is you're young enough to do it, but you're old enough to know better, right? That's how you evolve naturally as a man. When you're, 17, 19, 25, you're just a basket case of testosterone and poor impulse control. Then you get older and you can still do all that, but you know not to do it, right? Young enough to still do it, old enough to know better. That's how I'm living my mantra is I can do all that, but I know better, so I'm not going to do that. And that's where you're supposed to evolve. This is a natural stage of life for a man to be in, right? Because you can't be weak. You can't be like Mitt Romney, Mike Lee, those guys. They're just weak. But you can't be impulsive and wild because we don't need that either. We have enough of that energy. You have to thread that needle between strength and wisdom. Yeah, Rubio's just, dyes his hair jet black. Looks like a dork. He looks like an old guy with a bad hair dye. Right? At least Trump knows how to color his hair properly, right? At least Trump knows how to color his hair properly. Rubio, he colors his hair too dark. Same way with Romney. Or they try to do like the gray side look. There's a character in X-Men. I forget the name of the character in X-Men. But there's like an X-Men comic book character where they have the gray right here. But then they color everything else. I forget the guy's name. Forget that character's name. So that's what Romney's going for. It's not Wolverine. It's one of the scientific characters. So yeah, that's not the look. That's not the look. So Romney's trying to go for the elder statesman look, but he's not wise, so he's not working. Rubio wants to look 30, so he has a bad hair dye job and colors his hair too dark. And this is the theme. This is the age we're entering. I'm telling you right now, we are entering a new era. We're entering the new era, and in a way, it's inspiring. In a way, it's inspiring because society had gotten complacent, had gotten weak, and unfortunately, society has rejected the golden age. Let me read something to you that was true at the time. Let me read something to you that was true at the time and ask me what happened, right? Yeah, we're getting a little philosophical. What happened to this? Because I believe this was true at the time, and then we sort of took a wrong turn. So let me read to you something that was true at the time. Right? We are entering a period where our biggest problems are simply psychology, simply the way we recognize the reality and the way we deal with it. If we can just figure out how to be friends and how to work together in a positive way, we have an opportunity within the next 100 years to be something so special it's almost indescribable. We're on the cusp of this, but not there. Right? This was April 24th, 2008. At the time, this was pre-coronavirus, pre-pandemic. And all of our problems, again, they were just psychological. That was the time to come together, right? Pre-corona, we don't have malaria. We don't have these problems other countries have. All we need to do now is come together as a people and figure out how to get along. And that was collectively just rejected. And it, frankly, is quite sad to me, right? Quite sad to me. We are now living in a world of dualities. On the same day, Elon Musk launched, first of all, the launch that Elon did was so mind-blowing that I thought that I read it incorrectly. I read that a drone followed the rocket, and then the rocket landed on a drone after the astronauts went into orbit. And I said, that can't possibly be true. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. So we have a rocket going to space. After the astronauts go into orbit, the rocket re-lands on a drone, on a space station. It does what? This can't make any sense to me. I was like, I must be reading it wrong. I must not really understand what is happening, right? Can't be true. So I was like, is that really what I just saw? Is that really what just happened? Yeah, drone boat. Yeah, drone boat. I'm like, is that really what just happened? Can't possibly have been what happened. And then, holy shit. Yeah, that literally is what happened. Holy shit. Okay. And then on that same day, people are fighting in the streets. So we're in the world of street violence, people seeking outer space. And it's a time to choose. We are in a world where it is time to choose. Do you want to choose the side of going to Mars? Do you want to choose the side of going into space, science, engineering, innovation? Or do you want to go onto the side of people in tribalistic street fights? Because that's where we are. Because that's where we are. And that's how you have to navigate the world that we live in. You have to know that both polarities are happening. The polarity of space exploration with the polarity of street fighting based on tribalism. A kid got his teeth knocked out because he brought an American flag to the event. That, of course, didn't get reported. So 14-year-old saw another teenager who brought an American flag to a rally. The American flag kid was chased by a mob, knocked on the ground, and then another 14-year-old ran and kicked him like a American History X scene. The most primal street violence that you can imagine. How many of you even heard that story? Right? How many of you even heard that story? So 14-year-old just tees off on somebody else lying in the street, knocks his teeth out. That's just a level of evil. There's a reason that scene is in American History X, because that's just a level of primal violence that you can't comprehend. Kicking someone in the teeth is a level of evil and a level of sociopathy. And the person who kicked him in the teeth was 14, a juvenile. That's the generation coming up. That's something. I've been in fights where I could have got killed, like real fights. I would never kick someone on the ground in the teeth. Never. I couldn't. It wouldn't. I would have PTSD if I did that. I couldn't comprehend doing that to a person. Well, that's America now. One side of America. One side of America wants to go to the moon. One side of America wants the Space Force. One side wants to go to Mars. One side wants science and innovation and stem cell research and longevity and youthfulness and cures for cancer. The other side wants to kick people on the ground and the teeth, the most primal, violent. And the kid who kicked him was a 14-year-old white kid, right? That's where we are. That's the path that you have to thread now. That's the thread that if you want to be a warrior king, you have to thread now. Because you can't be weak if you're going to lead, right? That I've told my people, and I tweeted this out again last, and it always makes people mad because their brains are scrambled and they don't see the world with clarity. I could wear a MAGA hat. Have you ever seen me wear a MAGA hat in public? One time I did as a joke with CARE, and they laughed. In 2016, CARE had a protest at the RNC, and I went, put a MAGA hat on and took a selfie, and they laughed and goofed off. But I have Muslim people who hate Muslims follow me, and I say you have to go away from me because I don't like people who hate Muslims, right? So I was with CARE, put it on, they laughed. This guy, what the hell is he doing, right? But you don't see me do that shit anymore, and I could. Why? I'm going to get in a fight for my life and death every time I leave my house. I'm going to risk getting ambushed. I'm going to risk have someone throw a brick at me from behind. So I'm telling you, kids, don't wear that US stuff at their events. Don't wear the MAGA hats. Don't. It ain't cute. It ain't cool. Especially the kid who had the flag. He wasn't a Street Fighter kid, right? He wasn't even a Street Fighter kid. Don't do that, please. Tell the youth, keep the hats at home. Well, I should have a right to wear a hat. This is how children think, right? I made a lot of people mad last night because that's how children think. I should be able to wear a MAGA hat anywhere I want. So I'm going to go into a riot and wear one. And if I'm attacked, then what? Then what? You lose. That's what. So tell the youth, keep the MAGA hats at home. You're not going to get any support from the Trump campaign. This has been happening for 5 years. They've done nothing. Go read the financials for one of these super PACs and how much money comes in, but they can't provide legal support or medical support to people attacked wearing a mask. I've talked about this for 4 years, 5 years, right? Don't do it. So that's what my message to the youth. You got to be smart, but you got to be tough too. So this is why I said earlier, I'm old enough to do it, smart enough to know not to. Or rather, I'm young enough to do it, old enough to know better. Young enough. So I'm young enough that if these people wanted some heat, they'd be in for a pretty unpleasant experience. But I'm old enough to know that's dumb. Why would you go fight the enemy on their terms? Pasovic's here. He understands these principles. The number one principle of special operations warfare and unconventional warfare is you never meet the enemy on their terms. If 10 people came out and surrounded me, even if I could, in theory, fight off all of them, why would I meet them on their terms? Right? Nobody would do that. It's even a principle of infantry that you don't do an ambush unless you have 2 to 3 times the personnel as the people you're ambushing. So if the 82nd Airborne wouldn't ambush somebody unless they had 3 times the number, why would you do the inverse and engage what is now a domestic terrorist force on their terms with fewer numbers, let alone by yourself? right? I blame too much Tiffy for this. I just saw somebody say to Thor, some guy had a name Thor, and he certainly doesn't live up to his name. Thor Benson said something like to Matt Walsh, every female police officer in the world could beat you up, Walsh. No, they couldn't. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So people, they watch these movies and they see, like, I have daughters, so, I'm training my daughter. My daughter will know how to defend herself. She'll also know that I'm not going to go fight John Jones or Brock Lesnar, right? I'm not going to go fight them. And the irony, too, is those people are trying to defuse it. John Jones is in the streets telling kids, don't go do graffiti. John Jones is in the streets trying to rebuild, right? So the people who can handle their business, they're the ones that are like, this is crazy. Because the people who are most familiar with violence are the ones who don't want the violence. Because once violence is unleashed, you're in a wildfire. There's no controlled burn. You're in a wildfire, right? I don't think anyone should join any group and engage in street fights. We saw how that works out. You defend yourself, you're going to go to prison. So you're meeting the enemy. You're meeting a domestic terrorist group on their terms. The best case is you fight and don't get your teeth kicked in. But you win the fight and you go to prison for 4 years. You understand? Is it making sense? I hope the message isn't for the message we have to give to the youth of America, especially to the young men of America. Knock that stuff off. Go to the gym. You ought to have a BJ. I said this 5 years ago. It's even more true now. 5 years ago, I said if you're going to be considered conservative or right-wing or whatever label people have, and you don't have at least a BJJ, blue belt level proficiency in self-defense, they're going to get you. I've been saying this. If you don't have at least a BJJ blue belt level of self-defense, and you're a prominent conservative, you just better stay in your house, right? Because there's a target on you, fairly or not. Again, children are who talk about fairness. Children who cry that they can't just go do whatever they want to do, right? That's what children do. And when you're a man, when you're an adult or a woman, you realize there are just things that you can't do or shouldn't do, or that you can do and it's better not to do. I was going to go to Minneapolis. I have 2 daughters now. It's just not something I would do now. 5 years ago, no kids. Maybe I bring a couple guys with me. Maybe not. But the world is changing. So the world, everything that unfortunately we predicted, Sobek, me, Scott Adams, number of people predicted. Not very many. That's the problem. Not very many. That's the problem. It's just not very many. And the Covington kid, the lesson of that is, even if you're minding your own business with a MAGA hat, you can get framed, right? So if you wear a MAGA hat, you might get attacked by Antifa. Someone might kick your teeth in, literally. Literally, a 14-year-old kicks someone's teeth in. That's reconstructive. So that's just a street-level violence because people are naive. Or if you mind your own business in a MAGA hat, you might get framed as a racist for the rest of your life, never have a job, never have employment, and they might get you because they might track you down. That's the world we live in. That's just real talk, right? I remember whenever I'm with people, my head's always on a swivel. And I'm with people and their heads are on a swivel. People are like, oh yeah, Mike, sometimes you read on the internet, oh yeah, I was with Mike and he's always like looking around. Yeah, because I'm not a child. You're right. I don't just walk around reading my phone, walking down the street. If I'm at an event, I'm just not paying attention around me. That's the world we live in, people. You got to get with the times. Is it fair? Is it right? Is it just? Is it moral? Hey, that's how kids talk. But the beauty of it is strength is back in style. Strength is making a comeback. So all these people who want to talk trash to me, you need to go to the gym. You need to be at that BJJ gym. You need to be at the MMA gym. You need to know what you're doing. And you need to have street smarts, situational awareness. Do I wish it were otherwise? I love civilization. I love civilization. I love wine and fine cigars, beautiful women. I love all of the trappings of living in a civilized world. House music, pool parties, international travel, pour over coffee, oat milk lattes, reverse seared prime steak, everything that you need a functioning society to get, supply chains, everything that you need a cultured, functioning society to have. I like the opera, the symphony, museums, literature. I like all of the things that you need civilization to have. So there is no one more than me who doesn't want to see the violence. There is no one more than me who doesn't wish that we lived in a world where you could walk down the street and wear whatever hat you wanted. Right? No one more than me. I'm an Epicurean. If you're not aware of the Epicurean philosophical tradition, then Google Epicureanism when we're done talking here. That's me. I'm Epicurean. I don't take shots of cheap liquor. I drink fine wine. I don't smoke Black and Milds. I smoke Avo, Davidoff, Cohiba. That's the world I want to live in. And if we can't, as Epicureans, we can't have these nice things if we let civilization decay. So what is the path forward? The path forward is the era of strength is upon us. The era of it don't matter if you don't want to be strong, you have no choice. But we're not strong like barbarians. We're strong so we can preserve. We're strong so we can preserve beauty, art, culture, democracy. This is the path forward. This is the path forward. This is the path that I'm going to keep leading. Reject the chaos agents on both sides, the chaos agents coming from Russia or China or Iran or from within deep state. Because, again, don't think, because I know a lot of Muslims read me and watch my stuff, they remember what happened when the FBI would create Islamic terrorism, which was really just finding some marginalized kid, putting bad ideas into his head, and then telling him, "Oh, come pick up this stuff," and then getting arrested. We've that now is happening to right-wing people, setups. Anybody tells you we need to do more than talk, blocked. You think I don't get offers all the time like that in my DMs? Yeah, man, I can do that. No, you can't do shit for me. You don't do shit. Keep the peace. Be a good person. But exercise rights. Free speech, First Amendment, Second Amendment. But the good news is that it is good news. Oh, and I bring this up in the context of something I said that triggered a lot of people. Was when Corona hit, and this is more true now. If you're a man and you're not getting hit up by women, you need to ask yourself, Are you handling your business? Are you taking care? Are you somebody that people view as a protective force? Right? Not a destructive force, a protective force. And if you're not, that's okay. We're just entering this era. It's a new era. It isn't like it's over. It isn't like there's no hope. It's the opposite of hope. We're entering in a way a beautiful time where people are going to improve themselves even more. But keep your head on a swivel. Watch your backs. Monitor the situation. It's going to be a lot more of the violence. It's going to become more common. Be prepared. Thanks for watching. Mike Cernovich, Cernovich.com. CERNOVICH.com.